Without objection, the amendment is considered as read. I reserve a point of order. The gentlelady from New Mexico is recognized for 5 minutes to explain her amendment.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the opportunity to offer what I hope is a pretty straightforward amendment. We've heard a lot today. There's been a lot of high emotion and intensity and yelling, but this is really about getting the facts correct in the resolution itself. So, Mr. Chairman, this amendment actually corrects the ANS, which is replace the original resolution text to correct the record in this resolution in the section that begins on page 5 of your resolution and goes to page 7 on the background on the investigation. And with all due respect to my colleagues who were yelling a few moments ago about this only having to do with Hunter Biden, it's very clear this is a political act, and you don't really need to dig much further than to actually read the resolution itself, because what the resolution does is make conclusions that are not based in evidence, which are not factual. And Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be honest, I'm a former Senate staffer. I'm embarrassed. I mean, we can't send this to the floor. It's not factual. It's filled with all kinds of misinformation. So what my amendment would do is clarify the actual evidentiary background that was conducted as part of this investigation, which I'd like to note, it didn't just begin, though there was a vote on the floor a few weeks ago. This actually began last year, at the beginning of last year, and I'll get back to that here in a moment. But over the course of this investigation, 82,000 pages of records have been reviewed from the National Archives. There's been 30,000 pages of bank records reviewed, 2,000 pages of Treasury report records, dozens of hours of testimony from special counsel, U.S. attorneys, DOJ officials, FBI, IRS agents, financial advisors, business partners, Ways and Means provided evidence. We had expert witnesses come and testify under oath live in front of the committee, including during the impeachment hearing in September, and other witnesses who've been called in for depositions and recorded interviews. And so there's been a massive body of evidence actually brought before this committee. And in fact, in the September impeachment hearing, as has been said many times here today, the witnesses that were called here, including the GOP's own expert witnesses, concluded that there was not sufficient evidence to proceed with an impeachment. Now, I understand that there's a rhetorical argument here being made about an impeachment investigation, but Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, that's not actually what your resolution says. Your resolution makes declarative statements about the president. It makes statements about his involvement in his son's activities, which are just factually untrue. We don't have any evidence. There's no material evidence that's been provided before this committee. So what my amendment does is it corrects the record about what evidence has come before the committee, so that if you are going to send this to the floor next week for a vote, which we understand that you are, it's actually factual. I mean, that's what we're here to do, right? The other kind of comments I'd like to add here is, you know, Mr. Chairman, you said yourself just a few moments ago, we can't just make stuff up. We're the Oversight Committee, so we want to make sure that the evidence that we're telling the American people about is clear and factual, and that what we're telling the American people about what is happening not only publicly in this domain, but also within the committee's investigation is factual. And, you know, I had the opportunity yesterday to sit in one of the taped interviews with one of the witnesses who's been called before this committee. I have to say, Mr. Chairman, I was really shocked. You know, we sat there, the witness answered the questions of the majority, and man, those members who were sitting in that room, they ran downstairs as soon as they heard the first few minutes of testimony, and then they went directly to the press gaggle and shared a complete misrepresentation of what happened in that room. And that's why Mr. Biden is trying to appear under oath publicly in front of the American people, because time and again, and I saw it with my very own eyes yesterday, we have members who are participating in this inquiry who are misrepresenting the facts. So let's get the facts correct inside of this resolution. Now, finally, I want to just point out that this impeachment inquiry actually precedes even like some of the conspiracy theories that are even being put forward here today. We heard, back in the summer that 2 members of this committee had competing impeachment resolutions on the floor, one of which had nothing to do with the evidence that the committee is trying to bring in on this matter. So, and they got in a vocal fight on the floor of the House because they were, so ravenous to prove to Donald Trump that they were his supporters and going to help impeach Joe Biden. So let's not play games. This is a political activity, but if you are going to engage in a political activity, let's make sure it's factual. With that, I yield back.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.